welcome to our July meeting of the Advanced Albany County Alliance. I'm happy to see all of you here today. Alan did the roll call. Well, everyone's here except Mike Cassidy and Helen Brooks' excused absence. So we'll move on. That we have had the resignation of Jasmine Higgins. I have a copy of the resignation letter. If anyone cares to read it, it's very straightforward. I believe she attended one of our meetings and then decided that her own business required more of her time and that she didn't have time available to do this. There were no comments that would be critical minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great. Let's move on to the committee reports and begin with the Finance Committee. Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met, as you know, earlier this morning, and we approved the prior meeting minutes from September 24th, 2025, and we reviewed the budgeted performance of the June year-to-date financials to the June year-to-date budget, and also answered some questions relative to where our investments are now with M&T. Everything was presented and meeting was adjourned.
Any comments or questions for Alan? And let's move on to the CFO report.
Thank you. Good morning. I'll do a brief overview as we just went over this in the Finance Committee, but year-to-date June 30th statement of financial position, roughly $10 million in the bank, with $6 million of that invested in treasury bills. Accounts payable amount of $123,000, including consulting, legal, and other business expenses, and deferred revenue of $9.2 million, which includes stage monies received, not yet dispersed. Moving on to the budget versus actuals. Total income $1.8 million versus a budget of $7.9 million. This is due to the Alliance not receiving or dispersing funds for the demolition of Central Warehouse yet. That will come in the next quarter or so, and stage grant income. Total legal and professional services are $440,000 year-to-date versus budgeted amount of $241,000. That is due to payments to Redburn and McFarland Johnson. Total payroll and salary expense is under budget by $277,000 due to the Alliance not filling budgeted positions. So in all, the net income is favorable to budget by $146,000. Any questions on the financials?
Anyone? Thank you. Airbnb update.
Yes. So in our budget for 2026, we had included a couple $100,000 in the hotel tax and Airbnb line. We budgeted a total of $1 million, expecting the Airbnb tax to begin sooner in 2026. It was approved by the legislature in May, I believe. Notices are going out in July and August, and we'll begin collections in September. Again, this is 6.5%.
Yeah.
And we will get 0.5% of that when collections begin. Just to note, year to date, we have received $354,000 in hotel tax for the first 2 quarters. It's an increase of $8,000 from 2025. And I'll move on to the AFLA closeout audit review. So in your packet, we reached out to Bonadio to provide a closeout audit for April 30th of the Albany County Pine Hills Land Authority. And this represents the period during which the Alliance provided management services to the authority before the transition to Albany County. Bonadio completed a review of the authority's financial statements in accordance with professional accounting standards. Bonadio concluded that there were no material modifications that should be made for the financial statements to be presented fairly in accordance with GAAP. The completion of this independent review represents a successful conclusion to our management of the authority and provides independent confirmation that the financial reporting was appropriately prepared and presented.
They've accepted this too.
Correct.
Right.
Yes. It was sent to Mike Lally and Dave Riley for them to look over as well.
Any comments or questions for Amy? Thank you. Let's move on.
Ellen,
Yes,
Ellen, this is Joanne Cunningham. I
Sure.
have a question.
go ahead.
So do you have an accounting of what the aborted bus station proposal cost the Alliance?
Joanne, I'll go into that a little bit later in the CEO report, but we do not have final numbers yet. We've got some estimates which need some review. I'll put it, but yes, I'll talk about that a little bit later.
Okay,
Thank you.
sure. Okay, let's move ahead to the CEO report.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Got a lot on the agenda today, so we'll try to get through this kind of quickly. Let me start with some new initiatives that you may be seeing as we go ahead. We've been working with the county executive's office and the county legislature on some new initiatives that they've identified. You've heard of the housing initiative. County is, I believe, has an RFP out for a firm to develop the regulations for that, but that's something we'll be expecting to look at sometime towards the end of the year. And we've also been in discussions with the county executive's office and the county legislature about a small business assistance program as well. So, details are still kind of forming on that, but those are a couple of additional responsibilities that the Alliance will be taking on as over the rest of this year and probably more so starting beginning of next year. A lot of activity here, and I'll just turn it over to some of the staff to go through it. We'll start out first with Jeremy Smith, who will give us an update on the central warehouse.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Central Warehouse is cruising along at the moment right now, making up some lost time from previous delays. The abatement, which is phase one of the project, again, is moving along at a rapid pace, faster than expected by schedule, so catching up on some time. Floors 1, 2, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and 7 are completed. It's an 11-story building. So those are completed and clean, so clear. They're currently working on floors 5 and 6, and 3 and 4 are next in line to be completed, expecting to be done in the month of August. So phase one abatement would be completed in August. That brings us to phase 2, which is the demolition. 2 pieces of demolition in parallel paths. First is the overhead trestle bridge that connects the rail line into the building, and then the demolition of the building itself. All information is into Amtrak. We're awaiting response from them. We received an email yesterday that the response is expected on Friday. That could be the go-ahead, or it could be asked for clarification or more information on the project. So we're right in line and on schedule for the demolition, as long as we move forward with Amtrak on Friday. So things are cruising.
Yeah, why don't you just give everybody a little background on the 21-day.
Yeah, so we met with Amtrak to go over what their review period is for this, and they have a 21 working day review. Little discrepancy on what we felt was 21 days and them, but their response yesterday was that Friday is their internal date for the 21 days, so the 24th of this month.
Well, while you're standing, why don't you just continue on to the Altech steel site update?
Sure. Altech, we received some significant information over the past few weeks. First, DEC responded to us that that the IDA is the lead agency for the environmental review of Altech, and yesterday in a special meeting, the IDA accepted that by resolution. So that starts the lead agency process. The first step in that will be conducting a public hearing around the site and for the interested and involved parties as well as the public to go over the scoping document for the environmental review. Along with that, McFarland Johnson, who is our consultants on the project, have been moving along and progressing with the studies. It's a traffic study, stormwater, water sewer, and we're also working with National Grid and NISO on power for the site as well. So we continue to progress along that with the lead agency that then starts a series of events. First of which we will be reaching out to the town of Colony because Altec resides in the town of Colony to start the process with their DCC, which is the development committee that they have in the town of Colony. So we'll get started with that, kind of go over all of those studies with them, make sure that it meets all of their needs based on what they have, and start working with the planning board to get moving on a process to develop the site.
So all of this is towards the end of making the Altec Steel site a full shovel-ready site. Sandy, why don't you just give a kind of a 5-minute overview on what that means for prospects that we have looking at that site?
Sure.
Sandy Mathis, by the way, is a consultant working for the Alliance. Those of you who don't recall, Sandy's did our original shovel-ready site work when we first started the Alliance, and has been working with us ever since on additional projects.
Well, shovel ready is when your land becomes gold, quite frankly. It's the market. New York's is somewhat challenging in business atmosphere, so that's why the IDAs are important in a variety of things. Shovel ready to have a site, the most important thing is predictability on time frame. So companies can make business decisions of when they can get the shovel in the ground to really when they can open and do business, whatever that business decision is. So the shovel ready process is to get seeker done, all local approvals, everything up to a very specific site plan review process completed and done in a generic way. So if you show up at the planning board and you remind the planning board that you've done all these things and that you meet the criteria of their site plan, that quite frankly should be a month to 2 month as long process to get your building permit. Sometimes, depending on the planning board and relations, that can go to maybe 3 to 4 months. But all the hard work should be done. Your time frame becomes predictable, and when you can market that, that just becomes really dynamic in the marketplace. And I'm sure Rich can understand that. But companies are risk adverse, especially when it comes to wetlands or local approvals. They will not make decisions on sites without having that predictability. And we will achieve that at the maximum level with the process outlined by Kevin.
So again, this is still going to take us some time and certainly some money. We have been fortunate in securing funding from the Empire State Development. We've received one of their Fast New York grants. We've also got some additional grants coming in from other entities that I'm not at liberty to disclose at this point. And we're paying for most of this through the Altec Loan Fund set aside of $1 million for shovel-ready grant work. But this is just key to have these sites ready and raring to go so that as our staff are out there promoting the region and our county, we've got sites that are ready to go and people can get in the ground quickly. I mean, I think, a couple of good examples of this is the work that was done with Power out at Vista Technology Campus. That was also a GEIS was done out there. And as well is what the Carver Company and the town of Queens did for the Port of Queens. You'll be hearing from Nick Laraway from Carver Companies a little bit later, but I mean, Nick, what is, you got an interested party in the port of your industrial site, how long does it take you to get them in the ground there, get approvals?
I mean, we have an approved master plan at the industrial park, so the project we're talking about later on this morning, from concept to approaching the IDA for the pilot was less than 60 days, so.
Yeah. And that's, that is the absolute ideal, but there's a lot that goes ahead, it took how many years to get to that point?
That one with the town for the industrial park was over a year-long process to get the port shovel-ready, permitted for the offshore wind expansion was 37 months.
So
It's-
a lot of time. Again, all things moving well on that. We'll keep you updated, but again, this is the single best industrial site that we're working on developing in the county right now. And, hopefully we can get it to the point of Vista Technology or some of the sites down in Queens. Joanne Cunningham mentioned the 106 South Pearl Street project a little bit earlier today. As you know, we had proposed, after being asked by the bus carriers to relocate their bus terminals there, to redevelop the site as a intercity bus terminal. This was contrary to what was stated in the papers. I think this project enjoyed a great deal of support from the community. Was aired out quite extensively in the public, not the least of which was a press conference the county executive held a year ago, thereabouts. It was vetted pretty well in Governor Hochul's downtown plan, but there were some community activists who definitely in the minority about the project, who took exception to that, and the noise just got too loud on that, and the county executive and county legislature have put the project on hold indefinitely, and we're going to be looking to do for other uses for the site. To Joanne's question, we did identify a development team to work on the site, led by Wayne Shaft Development Construction, many of you know. So there are some expenses that have incurred. I spoke to principals at Wayne Shaft, and just yesterday we got some estimates of the costs. They're a little bit a little bit greater than what I was expecting, and there's some confusion on the backup. The expenses on the backup didn't foot with the amount of money that they said that they expended on. So, but we're looking at tens of thousands of dollars in lost costs on this project that I don't think are going to be recoverable on anything else, since this was such a specific use. I don't want to go on too long about this. This is a little bit sensitive. I thought this was a good use for the project, and it still leaves a problem in that our bus carriers, namely Greyhound and Adirondack Trails, have nowhere to go. And they've been informed, we just heard last week, by Capitalize Albany, that they are exercising the 45-day eviction clause. Many of you know the properties that both Adirondack and Greyhound are on is owned by Capitalize Albany, and they've got this development project, so that they've informed them that they will be exercising the 45-day termination clause, and right now they have nowhere to go. Jeremy and I had a conversation with the two carriers with ESD last week, and they made it very clear to us that the Empire State Plaza does not work as a intercity bus carrier terminal for them. It's the size of their buses. Their buses are longer than the normal buses that go in and out of there, and there are roughly 60 buses a day, and that traffic can just not be accommodated there, and it's just not the right site. There is an alternative site that was thrown out. I don't know if, I'm not at liberty to say where it is. It's an unusual site, I'll leave it at that. And it's outside the inner city of Albany, which I thought was kind of surprising. But, we've kind of pulled the plug on it, pencils down. We have received some additional interest in the site, and I'll be going over that with the board if they so choose to in executive session. Because we do have a letter of intent from one organization and forthcoming letter from another, which we have received. So, any questions on 106 South Pearl?
Kevin, is that, I mean, that, we'd love it to be in the city of Albany somewhere, because that has the most invest need, right?
That's what, ideally the carriers would prefer to be, because it's easier to get to the bus and from the bus, whether it be on CDTA or just by foot. So they would prefer, I think, an inner city location. I think right now what's going to happen is there's probably going to be an interim or temporary location, because they've got to get going. They've got schedules they've got to put out, and they're telling us even to do it within a 45-day window is highly challenging, given their routing schedules and so on and so forth. So, but yeah.
They have to do that by September, you're saying, for 45 days?
I don't know when the official 45-day notice has been given. They told us after them having a conversation with Capitalized Albany that they were told that they are going to get the 45-day notice. I don't know whether, Jeremy, do we know whether they've
No.
received it or not?
They haven't received it yet. They were just given the update that they would be receiving one.
But, Albany, Capitalized Albany, mentioned their development plan for the Liberty Park, which is where the site lies. And they're getting moving on that front. So, so right as we stand here, there is no solution to where the intercity bus carriers are going to go in Albany.
And there's no indication that the city itself is concerned about this?
I have had no conversations with the city about it. I don't know if the county or the county legislature has. I think there have been some conversations, but I'm not aware of what those were about. Any other questions on 106 South Pearl? Okay. So just the strategic plan update. We are, the plan is there's a draft study done. We're trying to schedule some final meetings on this with the chairman of all of the boards that funded the study, meaning the Alliance, the IDA, the CRC, and the ACBDC. And we're also looking to get some final feedback from the county executive and the county legislative chair, which those meetings are in the works or have been already scheduled. But, there are some very interesting findings, that the consultants have identified. Since our last study, which was done by Camoin, the current study is being done by HR&A. The Alliance, since its inception, has engaged in over 71 projects. We've deployed over $17 million in loans and grants. We've issued $64 million in bonds. And we've, for a total incentives over the 5 or so years that the Alliance has been involved, of $474 million. That's created about 2,700 direct jobs, 2,900 retained jobs, and has stimulated private investment of about $730 million. These would be much greater numbers had the offshore wind initiative hadn't fallen through due to a change in federal energy policy. But again, we're hopeful that is just a postponement of the offshore wind and not an absolute curtailment. Some of the projects that we funded that you know about Plug Power, but Atlas Copco, Catamere, Eckert Mechanical, Ecovative, NSH USA, Plug Power, Regeneron, and Shelter Enterprises. So, it was kind of interesting to see that identified. Some of the areas that the plan is identified that we want to get, that they're recommending the Alliance get more active in, is business attraction and retention, meaning going outside of the state and perhaps even the country and attracting businesses to relocate to Albany County. We just recently redeployed Clayton Besh to work on foreign direct investment in the county, focusing first and foremost on the semiconductor supply chain companies, because of the, embedded resource we have with New York Creates or the Semiconductor Initiative on Fuller Road. Given Clayton's background in Japanese culture and language, we're going to be focusing particularly on some of the Japanese companies, which we've got 3 located on the Fuller Road campus, Rapidus, Screen, and Tokyo Electron. And Clayton will be attending the Semicon West show in Arizona or San Francisco. In the fall of this year and meeting with companies out there about sites in the county. The other part that we really haven't been very involved in that the consultants identified as a real need is neighborhood revitalization and placemaking. And that would be, to really kind of work with some of the cities in the county, not the least of which, of course, being Albany with the governor's 200 million. But the rest of our municipalities, Green Island, Waterville, Cohoes, and so on and so forth. There seems to be a real need to make sure that there's what the consultants say, that there's a there. And what that means is that there's a destination, that there's an interesting activity going on that is an attraction for people to live, work, and play in a particular community. And hopefully that's what the governor's 200 million will do in downtown Albany. Lastly, and these are kind of broad steps, there's a lot underneath all of this, but lastly, the consultants identified an area that we have to really build up on our brand and marketing. The Alliance is got some top of the mind awareness, but there's a lot more that can be done there. And they've recommended that we kind of come up with a very targeted marketing plan to build the top of the mind awareness for the Alliance and the things that we do to generate the economy of Albany County. So, there's a lot more here and there will be much more detailed briefing, but as you know, from the last 5 years, this is not just that we don't view this as just a strategic plan. This is really a playbook for us. We stick to our knitting. We want to hear what you guys think of all this. You guys endorse this. This is the kind of stuff we're going to do. This will be the only things that we actively go out and pursue. There may be other things that come in the transom. We're dealing with one now. We've got a large logistics and distribution. But that's not our sweet spot. That's not what we are. That's not our strategic areas. And the strategic areas that the consultants identified are really just a doubling down on what we've already done. Semiconductor, biotech, smart manufacturing, alternative energy, and so on. So we hopefully will have that wrapped up by the end of the summer. We're already starting to organize ourselves along those lines. And we'll be recruiting people to fill the spots that we need to get the plan in the works. So any questions on the strategic plan? Before I move on, there'll be a lot more to come, and our consultants do this pitch very succinctly, a high-end summary. Alan has seen some of it, but you'll see all of that firsthand at one of our coming meetings. Last project that I'd like to just spend a little time on is the county executive was asked to assist the town of Queens with the truck traffic going through their main streets of Ravenna and Queens. And to that end, the county executive asked us to undertake a truck rerouting study, which we did earlier this year. We've held several public meetings on that. We've hired along with our in-house engineer firm, Bowler, we hired Creighton Manning to do this. And with that study is underway. We're meeting with various municipalities, and we'll have some recommendations for that. Probably not until the fall when everything else is said and done, but that is also underway. Again, a very kind of sensitive issue down in Queens. And, you know, we'll see what we can come up with. But, you know, we should have a recommendation or recommendations in the fall of this year. Lastly, there's a little bit of housekeeping that I think Tom is going to walk us through on the appointments of a records access officer. We do seem, with the increased activity that we've had, we're becoming, the number of FOIL requests that we've been getting has increased significantly, and Tom has got some advice about how we might want to organize this also. Tom?
Yeah, thanks. So obviously, as the board knows, we're what's called a public agency under the Freedom of Information Law. We're subject to FOIL, that's Freedom of Information, and also Open Meetings Law, Articles 6 and 7 of the Public Officers Law. When we were first formed, we adopted a policy which is in compliance with the law, and we have some simple changes. Originally, we had designated the CEO. We didn't really have staff at that point as what's called the Records Access Officer. So we now have a larger group of people, and you're allowed to designate anyone on the staff to serve as the Records Access Officer. So we have a change before here that designates Jeremy, who's now here as a Senior Vice President, to serve as the Records Access Officer, and also to change the appeal body from the board to me. So, and that's in keeping with the law in common among public entities. As we've grown, as Kevin said, there's more of these types of requests. We've never had anyone appeal our determination, to be fair. I think we've had probably a dozen or so FOIL requests. We've never had any complaints. We get them out within the time frame. We've provided, I think, more than most people even understand they're about to get. But we've never had any complaints about our process to date. So, but those are the changes before you. I also noticed I still have the old address in here because when we first formed, it was the county office building. So we're going to make that change as well to include the address for us here in this new space. But that's the proposal and the resolution if the board would move it to basically update names Jeremy Smith as the Records Access Officer, change the appeals officer to the council, whoever that may be, and then some simple admin changes.
So it's exactly the same as what we approved before, except with some name changes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the new actions.
And now a new address, but I wasn't smart enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there a resolution? What is
Yeah.
it?
Yes, sir.
Which, you'd like to vote on?
Yeah, so first and second, and then a vote would be, yes, sir.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
A second? Great, thank you, Mike. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Thank you.
Probably Jeremy.
That's what you get for being the new guy.
Still the new guy.
Ready to move on?
Yeah,
Hey,
so,
Alan,
Yes,
can
Joe.
I ask a question of Tom about the FOIL?
Yes, sure.
First of all, I didn't catch, what is the added records officer position?
It's not added, it's a substitute. So the CEO had previously been designated as what's called the Records Access Officer. That's a term under the Freedom of Information Law. Each public body should have one designated. Previously, the board, when it was first put together, this is back in 22, I think, Kevin as the CEO, at that time, I think there was only 2 or 3 staff members. Kevin had been designated the Records Access Officer. It's a term of art under the law. So the only change really to the policy is to now designate, we have a larger staff, one of the other officers, Jeremy Smith, as the Records Access Officer now.
Oh, I see. Thank you, Tom. So, I assume that the bus station project generated some FOIL requests. The county government also received some of those requests, and they were very broad and really expansive. So they will take the county a lot of time and effort and energy to do them. So at some point, this may be something where it's consuming too much time of staff and we have to rethink, you know, how to manage this from a staffing standpoint.
Yeah, it's a good point, Joanne. It can be very laborious. You know, we had one from the IDA that just, you know, wanted records going back to 2020, you know, attendance records at meetings, and it just, you know, it is very time consuming and thereby, you know, staff time costly. So any advice on how to respond or organize or perhaps not respond legally, of course, would be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, at this point, we'd like to get into the project aspect, and Kevin Catalano's.
And one, Mike Cassidy, board member, has a relationship with this applicant, so he's going to recuse himself from the discussion and the voting, and that's that.
Yeah, Kevin, if you just want to introduce our guests and then each of the projects.
Yep. Good morning, everybody. Kevin Catalano with the Alliance. I have with me today Nick Laraway from the Carver Companies, Port of Queens and Queens Industrial Park. He'll be part of the first project. And then we have Shay Harrison from Freeform Fibers, which is part of the second project I'm going to discuss today. They're here. If you have any specific questions for them or something technical, they would be the ones to ask. As a reminder, the process for the stage is that we come to the Alliance Board first. You guys approve a resolution or don't approve a resolution, it's your decision. To move it to the stage committee, which is made up of folks from the county that would make the final determination. So your vote today just is a vote to extend it to the next step. The first one is the Carver Companies and A projects. Imagine if you are a manufacturer of wind turbines, large compressors, stuff made for advanced manufacturing, big, large pieces of equipment or end products. What do you need to get that piece of material from your site to the project site? And that's where A projects comes in. They focus on logistically complex movement of logistics. So if you've got a compressor that weighs 80 tons, you call A projects. We put it into their shed, which is what they're going to build as part of the project, a 75,000 square foot addition down at Port of Queens. And then they will move that specifically without damage onto a ship, a barge, or a truck and make sure that gets to its final resting place. That's what A projects will do. They're out of Belgium. They've been here in America for just a few years. We have a local president. The A projects corporate headquarters for the A Projects USA is located at the Port of Queens in the former Carver Companies building when they moved up to Corporate Circle. So we've got a project that has their home office here. We have manufacturers that rely on A projects to move their cargo from here to their client site. The entire project is about $6 million, just shy of $6 million, or just shy of $8 million, sorry, 7.9 million. A Projects is currently at the Port of Queens, but they're asking for a specific built 75,000 square foot shed to be built for their expansion as they continue to grow and expand at the Port of Queens. Now, so it's a 75,000 square foot building. They also need to buy a new specific piece of equipment, a crane that's almost $2 million. That's part of the project, and that will double their lifting capacity. So imagine if you're a port located in Albany County and you're trying to gather companies from all over the world to use your port, and you only have a certain lifting capacity, and then by one purchase, you can double that lifting capacity. We expect more business to come to the Port of Queens. So what we're looking at today is 75,000 square foot addition. We're going to retain 10 jobs. If this company, A Projects, were to move to another port outside of Albany County, Carver Companies estimates that they would lose up to 10 employees because that's how much work they do for 8 projects right now. They're looking to add more employees, 18 employees over the next 3 to 5 years to handle this specialized equipment. And these aren't just, low-wage jobs. These are professional equipment operators that run these machines. I mean, if you're gonna spend $2 million on a piece of equipment, you wanna make sure you have the best person running it. So it's kind of an expansion in addition to what they're currently doing down at the Port of Clemens. And to help with all this, because of as Sandy mentioned, the cost of doing business in New York, we're looking at IDA, we're looking at ACBDC, and now we're looking at a stage grant. It's a 10-to-1 match, so they would have to meet that 10-to-1 match. They were originally asked for 750, but based on the match, we would be looking to move them to the next level for a grant of $720,000 to facilitate this project and the growth down at the Port of Clemens. If anybody has any questions about 8 projects or the Port of Clemens.
Happy to answer any questions, certainly appreciate any consideration that the board's gonna give us today. Just to elaborate on it, currently 8 projects is in around 110,000 square feet at the industrial park. They're actually moving into our barge repair facility where Riggs Distler was doing Sunrise Wind for a specific project on the port side in the short term, and in the long term, they want a dedicated facility rather than cohabitating with a number of our other clients. So we're looking to give that to them. As costs of doing everything after COVID have increased, the cost of machinery in the warehouse are certainly much more than the buildings we made 5 to 10 years ago. So again, we appreciate the consideration and are hopeful of the outcome. Any questions?
So they'd be a tenant in the building, they would lease the facility from
So
you?
they lease the building, they do all the paperwork, they coordinate all the inbound and outbound freight, but we operate the equipment and handle all the internal port logistics for them.
So you manage the building, so.
We manage the building.
And you
under their-
staff, you
Our
will staff like the crane and
Yep,
unloading
it's
and
our
all that?
equipment operator, our riggers, our, everything.
Okay, and if a specialty piece of equipment were to come to the port and needed that weight capacity, you'd have the ability, even though you're leasing that building to a specific tenant, to use that crane to unload something?
Absolutely, the crane, in question is a mobile rough terrain.
So it's really an asset to the entire port?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And what is the lifting capacity gonna be for the new president?
180 tons?
It's 160 ton rough
160
terrain crane. So we certainly have other equipment like our marine travel lift that can pick 1,000 tons, but that can't go into the industrial park given its size, so.
It's pretty impressive. So Chair, there's a resolution in the packet that would, if approved, would move the,
Resolutions before the
So
board.
this is for the 720 here?
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And the project cost that you reported includes the cost of the crane as well as part of the
Yes,
building?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Any additional comments or questions?
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to do is just find this, I want to just make sure that we reflect the fact that the project description includes the crane to be
Yeah.
independently used. I just didn't have that when this was written. And just one thing, Kevin had said 10 jobs, 77 jobs.
That's how many are at the Port of Clemens right now. Yeah.
Retained.
So 10 new. and then
18 new.
18 new.
There's 77 jobs that are affected by this company being at the Port of Clemens.
There's a lot of construction jobs there too.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
No, it's a nice
Yeah.
project.
and you're also gonna go through the county IDA on this project?
Yes, sir.
And the Altech loan fund.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? And Mike is.
So it passes as amended.
Okay.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay, also here today is Shay Harrison from Freeform Fibers. This would be the next request for a grant of $250,000. They are currently located up in Saratoga area, and they are looking to move to a location in Latham. We don't want to disclose the location today because there's some lease issue. We don't want to create any issues with the lease, so.
It's an existing facility.
It's an existing facility. But in speaking with Shay and how the lease is being written, we're gonna not provide the address. We hope that's okay. But this grant would be contingent upon them moving into that location. So what we have is Freeform Fibers is a material-focused manufacturing company that has developed and demonstrated a number of high-purity production technologies based on laser-driven chemical vapor disposition. Now, that's a mouthful. But what's interesting is, we helped the company not too long ago